There are two types of Brahmins: genius Brahmins and mediocre Brahmins. Genius Brahmins spoke of Atma. Mediocre Brahmins preferred Varna Jati caste and blamed the British for it. Mediocre Brahmins are masters of gaslighting, appropriation, and trolling. This explosive statement sent ripples through social media before it mysteriously vanished. The author? None other than Devdutt Patnaik, a well-known mythologist and writer on Hinduism. And the reason for its disappearance? Likely the invisible hand of a Brahmin-dominated establishment that ensures inconvenient truths are buried before they spark a larger reckoning. But we are bringing that truth back, to expose the role of mediocre Brahmins in turning India into a burning communal cauldron. Mediocre Brahmins thrive on division. The moment they enter a space, they subtly or overtly draw attention to caste and religion, making it the default lens through which people see themselves. This psychological conditioning ensures that non-Brahmins remain perpetually on the defensive, while the Brahmin secures his own dominance. Food has been one of his most effective tools of control, but now it serves a new purpose: demonizing Muslims. He pushes vegetarianism as the only pure diet, while portraying meat-eaters, especially Muslims, as impure and barbaric. This is despite historical evidence that ancient Hindus, including Vedic Brahmins, consumed meat freely, with the Yajurveda detailing animal sacrifices. Food purity is used to fuel religious hatred, turning something as basic as diet into a marker of communal division. But why does the mediocre Brahmin relentlessly vilify Muslims? Because his power, his wealth, and his entire fraudulent empire depend on it. Welcome to Whispering Peepal. If you enjoy bold, thought-provoking content that cuts through propaganda, subscribe now before we dive into the 3 reasons why the mediocre Brahmin keeps Hindu society hooked on communal hatred. Here we go. Reason number 1. The temple economy. For centuries, Brahmanism has been less a spiritual path and more a rent-seeking industry. The mediocre Brahmin earns his livelihood not through labor or innovation, but through temple donations, priestly fees, and ritual monopolies. Unlike any other profession, his job is not earned. It is inherited. Once he secures a temple post, he converts it into a lifelong revenue stream, siphoning dan dakshina, temple donations, without any productive output. And to keep the temples overflowing with devotees, he turns entire neighborhoods into religious soundscapes, blasting bhajans non-stop on loudspeakers. Children struggle to study, the elderly lose sleep, and the sick find no relief. Often, the noise rages on past midnight, justified under the guise of jagra, an all-night ritual that holds the entire neighborhood hostage in the name of devotion. But what happens when people, Hindus included, object to the unbearable noise? The mediocre Brahmin does not acknowledge the disturbance. He does not regulate the excess. Instead, he shifts the debate. He blames Muslims. He points at the azan and cries, "Islamic invasion." He portrays a 2-minute non-musical prayer call as a cultural assault, while temple bhajans blare for hours, drowning entire neighborhoods. His followers, conditioned to obey without question, rage against azan, blindly falling for the false equivalence. They never realize they are being played. But he doesn't stop there. He escalates the outrage. Mosques are mushrooming everywhere. Muslims are taking over public spaces. They prey on roads. They must be stopped. Never mind the fact that temples vastly outnumber mosques, exceeding the proportion of the Hindu population by a wide margin. Never mind that Hindu religious processions, like the loud and aggressive Kavad Yatra, paralyze entire highways for days, while a Muslim silently praying for 10 minutes on a roadside is treated as a national crisis. This manufactured controversy serves two purposes. It shields the Brahmin priest from accountability. Instead of questioning why temples hoard billions in donations, Hindus are taught to direct their anger at Muslims. It cements the Brahmin as the protector of Hinduism. He contributes nothing to governance or economy, yet positions himself as essential to Hindu survival. But the real money is not in small temples. It's in monumental temple projects disguised as civilizational revival. Ayodhya was just the beginning. Once Babri Masjid was demolished in 1992, the site became India's most profitable religious real estate. Donations flooded in from across the world, and today, the Ram Temple's Brahmin-controlled management oversees a financial empire worth thousands of crores, raking in cash, gold, land grants, and a booming temple tourism industry. Pilgrims flocking to Ayodhya fuel hotel chains, transport businesses, and souvenir markets, all tied to Brahmin-dominated temple trusts, turning faith into a highly profitable enterprise. And now they want more. Every medieval mosque is now under dispute. But you might wonder, why do they go after centuries-old mosques when they could easily procure land from a Brahmin-appeasing government to build grand temples? Well, there are two reasons. First, a temple built on reclaimed mosque land carries a profound purpose. It is not just a place of worship, but a symbolic reclamation of Hindu glory, turning a religious structure into a political statement. Second, such a temple is seen as a victory of Hinduism, a conquest rather than mere construction. This emotional narrative fuels massive donations and temple tourism, far beyond what a regular temple could attract. Reason number two, fear of equality in Islam. Unlike Hinduism, Islam rejects caste. Inside a mosque, the elite and the poor stand shoulder to shoulder, praying as equals. This egalitarian spirit extends beyond worship. In daily interactions, a Muslim does not differentiate between a Brahmin and a lower caste Hindu. For the mediocre Brahmin, whose entire existence depends on being higher than others, this is unthinkable. He does not just see Islam as a different religion, he sees it as a direct assault on his privilege. Faced with this existential crisis, the Brahmin has two choices: eliminate the Muslim by branding him as an outsider, an invader, and a permanent enemy of Hindu civilization. Convert the Muslim to Hinduism, but not just into Hinduism, into a caste-bound Hindu who will now respect Brahmin superiority, donate to temples, and pay the Brahmin for rituals like weddings, housewarming ceremonies, and last rites. To justify his hostility, the mediocre Brahmin manufactures an anti-Muslim narrative. Reason number three, escaping accountability. The mediocre Brahmin has spent centuries ensuring that the caste system remains intact while cleverly dodging responsibility for its brutality. When confronted with the historical oppression of lower castes, he does not offer an apology, nor does he engage in introspection. Instead, he immediately changes the focus to Muslim rulers, particularly the Mughals. He exaggerates Mughal atrocities, portraying them as the sole oppressors of Hindus, while completely ignoring the fact that Brahmins themselves oppressed lower caste Hindus far more systematically. He cherry-picks violent events from history: Aurangzeb's temple destruction, forced conversions, or the jizya tax. While conveniently ignoring that, many Hindu rulers also destroyed temples and waged wars of religious aggression. The biggest structural oppression faced by Hindus historically was not from Muslims, but from their own Brahminical system, which denied them education, dignity, and rights. This deliberate narrative shift ensures that Hindus, particularly the oppressed castes, see Muslims as their historical enemies rather than their own Brahmin oppressors. The result? A society conditioned to see Muslims as the historic enemy, the British as the cause of all problems, and Brahmins as the eternal victims. But the real question is, how long will Indians allow this temple industrial complex to dictate the country's religious and economic landscape? Will we ever see through the Brahmanical game of turning faith into a billion-dollar business empire? If you found this analysis eye-opening, don't let this conversation end here. Subscribe to Whispering Peepal for more deep dives into the forces shaping India's future, because understanding the truth is the first step to breaking free from it.